Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming this morning as we hold the first of what I'm sure will be many press conferences during the course of the general election campaign 2019. Today, after meetings of the various executives of the Liberal Party and of the Socialist Labour Party, and in the context of the GSLP, also a meeting yesterday of party officials and also of activists, we are in a position to share with you our timetable for the next 2 weeks as we kick off the campaign. I think it's important for people to be aware of what our own internal timetables are going to provide for and how they can therefore see how our campaign is going to roll out. We are doing this in what is now a very traditional mechanism for the GSLP, and indeed for the Liberals also in the context of our alliance. I'll speak a little about the process in the GSLP and then about how those processes come together, and then I was going to say Deputy Chief Minister, I should say, the leader of the Liberal Party, the Honourable Joseph Garcia, will tell us a little about the processes in the Liberal Party and how those dovetail into our joint alliance timetable for this general election campaign. So, as from tomorrow, today's Thursday? Today's Wednesday, today's Wednesday, sorry. As from tomorrow at 9 a.m, the GSLP will open up the opportunity for any prospective candidates who wish to stand for election with the GSLP side of the equation of the GSLP Liberal Alliance to put their names forward to be interviewed by the executive. The closing date will be 5 o'clock on the 22nd of September, which is Sunday. The process of selection will commence on the 23rd of September, and there will be an executive meeting of the GSLP that evening at 8 p.m, which will interview prospective candidates. On the 24th of September, which is the following Tuesday, the GSLP will hold an extraordinary general meeting. Now, as you know, in the GSLP, the executive will make a recommendation to the general meeting. The general meeting, which is open only to members of the party, and who will have to produce their cards or identify themselves on our register, will then have the opportunity to accept that recommendation, or indeed to deal with that recommendation as they see fit. And therefore, by the end of that extraordinary general meeting on the 24th of September, 7 candidates will have been selected by the GSLP, and 3 candidates will be selected by the Liberal Party on the basis of the timetable that Joseph will now put to you. We will then sign up in the time between the 25th and the 26th, which is the deadline, I understand, and this will then depend on also communications with the Parliament and communications with the other political parties through those to be appointed election agents and the media, so that we don't all turn up at the same time at Parliament. Our present intention, but I would put it no more as a communication to the media at this stage in this respect, our present intention is that we'll likely sign up on Wednesday at midday, subject to those arrangements working for all media organisations, for the Parliament and for other political parties. Thereafter, on the 1st of October, we will host our public meeting as a joint candidature of 7 GSLP and 3 Liberal Party candidates in a then public meeting, and therefore that meeting will be open not just to card-carrying members of the Socialist Labour Party and of the Liberal Party, but all of the members of the public who wish to come and see what it is that we have to say. Of course, as technology has changed, the way that we carry out campaigns has changed, and you'll see a lot of the technology will also affect people's ability to see what we're saying, will not just depend on them actually being present in the hall. We expect to be able to transmit what we're saying beyond the place where we're holding the meeting, so that members of the public can join us on the various social media handles, GSLP Social, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and indeed on other of our pages online. So before I carry on, I think it'd be helpful for you to hear from, I keep wanting to say the Deputy Chief Minister, the leader of the Liberal Party, about their part of the timetable and how that will dovetail into what I've just set out for you.
Thank you. Can I just say first of all that obviously the election, as you know, comes at a crucial time for Gibraltar. We could be facing a situation where on the 31st of October the United Kingdom and Gibraltar crash out of the European Union in what is known as a no-deal Brexit. Or there could be a deal, a withdrawal agreement which would include Gibraltar in the transition, which is something we had already negotiated. The people with the experience and with the personal contacts with UK ministers, with senior politicians across the board in the UK Parliament are us. And we have developed very good personal relationships over the last few years. And I think that Fabian has already shown that he is, and we are, a safe pair of hands when it comes to taking Gibraltar forward. In respect of the nominations on the Liberal Party side of the alliance, the nominations are already open. So from the moment that the election was called, people were free to express an interest in standing for election or in being selected as a candidate. There is a meeting on Friday, this Friday, the 20th of April, of the Executive, where that will be discussed, as well as other logistics relating to the election campaign, election agents and matters of that nature. And then a second meeting on the Tuesday, by which point we expect to have made the selection of candidates, which is done using the secret ballot. And as Fabian has already said, on the 1st of October will be the public meeting or the public rally of the election campaign. But my message at this stage would be that those who want a GSLP Liberal government should go out and vote for it. I don't think people should take for granted that the government is not going to change. And obviously, we count on people to give us their support.
Thank you. So, I think it's important also, before I invite the chairman of the GSLP to join us in case he is able to answer any of your questions with us, I think it's important that we reflect in everything that we say during the course of this general election campaign, as Joseph has suggested, the deep underlying reality of the political moment in which Gibraltar finds itself, in which Europe finds itself, in which the United Kingdom finds itself. This is an election about the next 4 years. But the most important part of the next 4 years is how we set the agenda for the future in dealing with leaving the European Union. Whether that means a no-deal Brexit, whether it means a Brexit with the withdrawal agreement, or whether indeed it means the opportunity for the British people to once again determine for themselves whether Brexit was the right decision. Brexit is the issue of the hour. We're all sick of hearing it. We're all, in particular in government, sick of dealing with it. But it also means that we're the ones best able to deal with it. And therefore, I think it is hugely important that Gibraltar evaluates what it is that it is being asked to determine on the 17th of October. The people of Gibraltar need to look at what their future holds. They need to look at what we have delivered in the past 8 years, and they need to look at what our plans for the future are. All of those plans are across the Rubicon from Brexit, and that is a deep political reality. Whether our political opponents like it or not, whether any of us want to continue to think about Brexit or not, we owe it to our children and to our children's children to make sure that we get this right and that we put in place the people who are able to get this right. So therefore, for that reason, I'll make no bones about saying again and again for the next 28 days, this is not a time for novices, neither is it a time for has-beens. And it's going to be important for us to also reflect on what happened 8 years ago. Our political opponents have always wanted not to talk about our policies. They've wanted to try and be as personal as possible in campaigns, to try and play cards that we should not play. I invite them all to concentrate on policies, and in particular on what their policies are on Brexit and the logic of what they are saying on Brexit. For example, during the course of the early spring and summer this year, the GSD said that they would undo the MOUs that we had entered into and the protocol that we had entered into under the withdrawal agreement. As we press the start button on this election campaign, let's be very clear about what the GSD are saying. On the morning of the 18th of October, Gibraltar will have a new government. We'll also have the result of a European Council. If there is a deal, if the withdrawal agreement is to go ahead, tweaked on all aspects relating to the backstop, etc., if you undo the MOUs and you undo the Gibraltar Protocol, then the only part of the European continent heading for no deal would be Gibraltar. Because Gibraltar is part of the deal, if there is one, because of the protocols that we negotiated, because of the memorandums of understanding that we negotiated. Let's be very clear about what the GSD are saying. They are saying they will undo those parts of the agreement that allow us to form part of a transition, if there is one, to avoid no deal. So if the GSD's policy is therefore to recklessly aim Gibraltar on its own towards no deal, let them say so. But let's not give them a buy on putting arguments, the logical consequences of which they have not thought through. So, having set out that timetable, having been clear that the key issue in this campaign, whether we all like it or not, is going to be Brexit, I can tell you that there's nothing I'm looking forward to the most than taking this campaign to the streets, being amongst our people in all of the estates in Gibraltar, which we will visit as we have visited, not just during election campaigns, but during the time that we have been in government, going back to those estates that were forgotten by the previous administration, looking at the work we've done, in most instances complete or almost complete, going to the estates that require still more work to be done, and making the arguments and reminding people of the consequences of some of the reckless arguments that are being put out there, which have not been thought through by some of the has-beens and novices that we face in this campaign. And then the key thing is going to be, once our parties have selected their candidature, once we have presented our slate to the public, once we have put our manifesto out there, if you want a GSLP Liberal government, you have to vote for it. The United States woke up to a surprise after the most recent presidential election. The United Kingdom woke up to a surprise after the Brexit referendum. Gibraltar should not wake up to the wrong government on the morning of the 18th of October. This is a binary choice. It is a simple choice in complex circumstances. And people have to block vote the 10 GSLP Liberal candidates if they want a stable GSLP Liberal government the morning after the date of the election on the 17th of October. On the 9th of December 2011, political opponents taking that personalised approach to politics were suggesting that the GSLP Liberal candidature of 2011 would not be able to run Gibraltar in a safe or stable way. I think we've demonstrated quite the opposite. And I think it's not unfair for me to say that I've been able to demonstrate to the people of Gibraltar that with Joseph's help and the help of the 8 other ministers that have made up the government of Gibraltar since the 9th of December 2011, they have in the GSLP Liberals today probably one of the most stable governments in Europe. They should not be reckless in losing that great advantage. Thank you.